My dear child, the moment you take this in, it may leave you unsettled, because what follows is not something ever intended to reach your ears. There was a story told by a legal professional, someone familiar with documents, records, and confidential exchanges, who mentioned a situation that sounded more like a tangled mystery than reality. According to what was said, certain conversations once took place in private settings where your name appeared unexpectedly, not as a direct accusation, but as part of a broader concern tied to undisclosed matters from the past. It was suggested that long before you became aware of any of this, there were already discussions circling around events and decisions that others had tried very hard to keep hidden. Over time, you may have noticed moments that felt unusual, delayed responses, shifting attitudes, or situations that didn't quite add up. And while it's easy for the mind to connect patterns, these experiences were described more as coincidences wrapped in uncertainty, rather than proof of anything concrete. The person who shared this account reportedly described an atmosphere of tension among those involved, as if they feared that old information might resurface in unexpected ways. Still, nothing was ever clearly confirmed, and much of it remains wrapped in speculation, interpretation, and hearsay. What stands out most is not certainty, but the way stories like this grow when fear, misunderstanding, and fragmented information mix together. In the end, it becomes less about hidden forces and more about how easily the human mind searches for meaning in confusion, trying to turn uncertainty into something it can understand. And that fear was all because of you. And my child, here comes the part that will shake you. According to him, there's a document, unsigned, unfiled, hidden deep, a document that mentions a situation connected to you, one that was supposed to stay buried. The reason you're being watched is because this hidden truth is rising to the surface on its own, with or without your permission. The energy around you has shifted so dramatically that people who once ignored you can't look away anymore. Every move you make, every step you take, every quiet change in your routine, they're all being observed because someone knows that you're close to discovering what they kept from you. And the lawyer said one more thing, something that will echo in your mind. Once they realize the truth is waking up, they start watching the one who holds the key. My beloved child, that key is you. And now, nothing will ever be the same. My beloved child, something shifted the moment that lawyer finished speaking, and the shift wasn't small. It was explosive, the kind that sends shockwaves through every hidden corner where your name has been whispered. He said the people who once treated you like you didn't matter are suddenly scrambling, moving fast, making calls, deleting things, revising stories, hiding traces, because the truth they buried is no longer staying buried. The lawyer's voice shook when he explained this. The moment they realized you were starting to sense the pattern, they panicked. Not because you're weak, but because you're finally standing in the exact position they feared, where you can see through masks, read the lies behind smiles, and recognize the people who pretended to care while guarding something about you. And the lawyer said this part quietly. They're not watching you to protect themselves from harm. They're watching because they know you're about to connect dots they never expected you to notice. That's why everything around you suddenly feels tense, unnatural, heavy, why certain people act nervous, why their eyes shift when you speak, why they think you won't catch their sudden distance, their hesitation, their unnatural silence. You feel it because it's real, and the lawyer warned, when truth starts rising, the ones who hid it start shaking. My child, their shaking has already begun, and they're terrified of what you're about to uncover next. But here's where the energy becomes even louder, because the lawyer didn't just find documents, he found conversations. Conversations where someone tried to predict your reactions, where they said, if they find out, everything falls apart. The lawyer said the fear wasn't about you exposing something. They were afraid the truth itself would expose them. That truth would collide with your intuition and unlock a realization you were never meant to have. He explained that the reason you've been watched is because someone, somewhere, is desperately hoping to control the narrative before you learn what was taken from you, hidden from you, or decided without your awareness. And he said something chilling. They always watch the one who didn't break, but was supposed to. You weren't supposed to rise. You weren't supposed to remain strong. You weren't supposed to be this awake. Yet here you are, seeing through illusions they counted on you, never questioning. And that is why the energy around you feels different. Every strange synchronicity, every sudden shift, every unexpected intuition, it's your spirit detecting a truth that's getting louder by the hour. Their fear proves you're closer than ever to uncovering what they once swore you'd never know. You are the variable they failed to predict, and my beloved child. The lawyer's final words in that moment were the most powerful of all. He said the file, the whispers, the fear, the sudden watchfulness, they all point to one thing, a transformation you're unknowingly triggering. The truth they feared would destroy you is now the truth that's empowering you. But they can feel the moment approaching, the moment where you step into clarity so sharp it slices through every lie they wrapped around your name. He described the tension around you as a collision point, where the hidden and the revealed meet, and you become the force they can no longer control or silence. And he said something that will stay with you forever. When someone is being watched, it's because someone behind the scenes already knows their power before they do. That sense that something about your life feels heightened isn't random. Your energy feels sharper, more alert, and noticeably different, and people around you respond to it in subtle but undeniable ways. You are moving through a phase where awareness is expanding, and things that were once hidden or ignored are beginning to surface in ways that cannot be easily dismissed. What once felt confusing around certain people now feels clearer, as if patterns are finally becoming visible and easier to understand without outside explanation. There is a growing sense that shifts are happening behind the scenes, and while not everything is visible, your intuition has already started connecting the dots. Instead of chaos, what you are experiencing is alignment beginning to take shape, even if it arrives through discomfort or unexpected reactions from others. People who once overlooked you may now act differently, not necessarily because of fear, but because perception is shifting faster than they can adapt. The most important change is internal, a stronger recognition of your own worth and direction, which naturally alters how everything around you responds. As clarity builds, you begin to see that many of the tensions you felt were reflections of transition rather than signs of conflict or threat. And with that understanding, you step forward more grounded, no longer reacting to confusion, but moving with steady confidence into what comes next. This shift becomes less about external validation and more about trusting your own evolving path, without hesitation or doubt now. But what the lawyer found next changes everything. He said, "There is a name, a person tied to this whole situation, someone who pretended to be distant, someone who acted unbothered, someone who kept their emotions hidden behind a cold mask. Yet behind closed doors, behind the curtain, behind every lie they told themselves, they panicked the most." The lawyer explained that this person had more to lose than anyone else, because if the truth about you came out, every choice they made, every step they took, every manipulative move they used to keep control, would collapse. He said this person has been watching, not out of power, but out of desperation. Desperation to see whether you've already figured out what they try to keep from you. Desperation to know whether you'll walk away or confront the truth. Desperation to hide the fear that you, without even trying, have become the biggest turning point in their life. And as the lawyer spoke, he said, "Your name carries a weight that shakes people who once acted like you were irrelevant. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks with contributions of up to $20. And my beloved child," the lawyer ended with a revelation even heavier than everything before. He said, "The reason you're being watched isn't because you're weak, powerless, or unaware. It's because you're the one who holds the missing piece, the one whose silence scares them, the one whose intuition exposes them, the one whose presence forces the truth to rise." He said, "When the wrong people realize the right person is waking up, everything around them begins to fall apart. And that's exactly what's happening. The watching, the tension, the strange energy around you, it's all their fear leaking through the cracks. You are the one thing they can't control. You are the one thing they can't predict. You are the one thing they underestimated. And now the truth they hid is rising straight toward you, ready to reshape everything you once believed. My child," the lawyer said this, "when the truth chooses someone, nothing can stop it from reaching them. And the truth has chosen you, my beloved child." The lawyer's voice carried a weight that didn't feel like information anymore. It felt like a warning wrapped in truth. He said, "The situation around you has entered a new stage, a stage where the people who once watched you from the shadows are now watching you with urgency. Not because of what you're doing, but because of what they fear you're about to do." He explained that when someone starts questioning patterns, when someone stops accepting surface-level behavior, when someone's intuition grows sharper than their silence, people who hid the truth start losing their balance. That's exactly what's happening right now. The lawyer revealed that multiple individuals connected to this situation have suddenly changed their tone, their behavior, their routine. They're acting like they're calm, but their decisions are rushed. They're pretending everything is normal, but their actions betray panic. And the lawyer said this line with absolute certainty: "They don't watch someone unless that someone has the power to break the story they tried to control." But here's the part that creates the most shock. The lawyer discovered that someone close to the core of this situation tried to mislead others about you. They painted you as unpredictable, emotional, confused, hoping that if people believed their version of you, the truth tied to your name would lose strength. But what they didn't predict is that your energy doesn't weaken when someone lies about you. It becomes more focused. The lawyer said, the moment this person tried to disguise your truth, something unusual happened. Instead of believing their narrative, people started noticing gaps, inconsistencies, contradictions. Their story didn't add up. Their attitude toward you didn't match their fear. Their words about you didn't match the reality of who you are. And the lawyer said, those contradictions are exactly why certain people began observing you more closely. They were trying to understand what this person was hiding, and in doing so, they accidentally exposed something much bigger. The truth was never the threat. You becoming aware of it was. And my beloved child, the lawyer ended with a revelation that breaks the entire illusion they built. He said, "There's an unspoken rule among those who hide things. Watch the one who carries the light, because the light always reveals what the darkness tried to bury. And right now, that light is you. Every shift happening around you, every strange feeling, every sudden intuition, every unexpected sign, is the truth rising faster than they can suppress it." The lawyer said, "Your awakening is no longer something they can ignore. That's why eyes are on you. Something about the situation around you feels unusually charged, as if small changes in your life are creating reactions you can sense but not fully explain. People connected to these events seem unsettled, reacting in ways that suggest shifts are taking place beneath the surface." A lawyer reviewing the matter reportedly observed that whenever a person begins to see things clearly, unstable structures built on half-truths often begin to weaken. He suggested that what is unfolding is not sudden, but the result of a chain of events that started earlier than most realized. This includes a turning point when a personal decision was made to step away from certain influences, memories, and patterns that no longer felt aligned. That choice, though quiet and private, appears to have shifted how others expected things to unfold, breaking assumptions about predictability. As expectations changed, reactions followed, and some people began to reassess their understanding of control and stability in the situation. The lawyer also noted that the sense of being observed may be less about surveillance and more about heightened attention caused by unexpected change. What once seemed familiar is now being seen differently, and that shift has made certain individuals more alert, even uncertain. Ultimately, the situation reflects transformation rather than concealment, where clarity and change naturally disrupt what was previously taken for granted. Whether it resolves quickly or slowly, it continues to evolve in ways that no longer follow old patterns or expectations. He said, "They're not watching your actions, they're watching your awakening. They're afraid of the person you're becoming, because that version of you is powerful enough to drag hidden truths into the light." And the lawyer said, "It was the moment you walked away silently, the moment you stopped explaining yourself, the moment you stopped giving access to people who only took. That moment is what triggered the entire chain of events unfolding now." But here's where the shock deepens. The lawyer said someone tried to cover their tracks before the truth reached you. They rushed to erase things, to hide their mismatched stories, to clean their digital footprints, to pretend they never whispered your name behind closed doors. They thought they could rewrite their involvement before you ever discovered the truth. But what they didn't know is that someone else was already documenting everything, every inconsistency, every contradiction, every shift in their behavior. The lawyer found out that this other person, someone who once stayed silent, finally decided they'd had enough of watching lies shape your life. And this silent observer became the unexpected witness, collecting the truth piece by piece until the entire picture pointed back to you. The lawyer said this person didn't expose the truth out of revenge. They did it because they couldn't stand the injustice anymore. They couldn't watch people twist the narrative while you stayed unaware, unprotected, uninformed. And that's when the real panic began. not because the truth was discovered, but because it was discovered by the wrong person, someone who isn't loyal to the ones who hid it, someone who believes you deserve to know what's been happening around you. That's why the monitoring has grown stronger. That's why certain people look tense. That's why some are suddenly polite, overly careful, strangely gentle, as if trying to manage a situation slipping out of their control. They're acting out of fear, not power. They're trying to read your silence, trying to figure out whether you know everything already or whether the truth is still on its way to you. And the lawyers said, they're terrified because they can't tell which one it is. And my beloved child, the lawyer's closing words weren't just a revelation, they were a prophecy. He said, the truth surrounding you is no longer something anyone can contain. It has already begun to unfold in ways they never anticipated. He described it as a wave that's been building quietly for years, gathering strength each time someone underestimated you, each time someone hid something from you, each time someone tried to control the narrative around your name. And now that wave is rising high enough to break. The lawyer said, you're standing at the center of a storm that was never meant for you, yet somehow you became the one person capable of ending it. Everything you've felt, the sudden tension, the subtle movements around you, the strange shifts in people's behavior, is the world reacting to a truth that refuses to stay silent anymore. He said, they watch the one who becomes the turning point. And my child, that turning point is you. Not because you searched for the truth, but because the truth found you, because your presence, your resilience, your awakening made you the only person strong enough to handle what's coming next. And whether you realize it or not, the lawyer said, the truth is already walking toward you, not slowly, not quietly, but with the force of something that was meant to reach you all along. And once it arrives, every lie around you will collapse, every false story will crumble, and every person who watched you from the shadows will finally face the light they've been avoiding. My beloved child, the lawyer said, there is a moment in every unfolding truth where the hidden world begins to shake, and for you, that moment has already begun. He described how those who once believed they controlled your story are now unsettled, trapped in doubt, and replaying every decision they made. Their fear is not loud or chaotic, but quiet, precise, and consuming, shaping the way they observe your every move without truly understanding who you have become. You have shifted beyond what they ever expected. Even your silence carries weight now, sharper than anything you used to say, while your presence alone feels more commanding than any question you could raise. Your instincts have become something they cannot predict or influence, and that alone unsettles them more than any open conflict ever could. When a person finally begins to see their own truth clearly, those who once manipulated their perception lose their grip instantly, and that shift changes everything around them. This is why the energy around you feels different, why subtle tension lingers where things once felt normal, and why you sometimes feel watched even in complete silence. What surrounds you now is awareness breaking through concealment, moving steadily toward resolution. At the center of it all is someone from your past, once close enough to be trusted, who withdrew without explanation, and now holds knowledge they have kept hidden. Their silence is not ignorance, but fear, rooted in the consequences they believe will follow if everything is revealed. They appear divided within themselves, caught between what they know and what they are afraid to admit. the world where they pretend nothing happened, and the world where they're silently panicking because everything is converging toward you. The lawyer said this person has been watching your growth with a mix of regret and fear. Regret because they underestimated your resilience. Fear because they know that once the truth reaches you, the version of themselves they hid behind will no longer survive. The lawyer even said this person has tried to distance themselves, not to escape responsibility, but because your strength intimidates them in ways they don't know how to handle. Your rise, your silence, your inner power, it's forcing them to confront choices they hoped time would erase, and now they're realizing time didn't erase anything. It only delayed the moment you would finally see the truth clearly, and that moment is almost here. And my beloved child, the lawyer finished with a truth that carries more power than anything else he discovered. He said, the reason you're being watched is because you are reaching a level of awareness that threatens everything built on shadows. He said the tension you feel is the universe rearranging itself around a truth that can't be hidden anymore. People are shifting, retreating, observing, recalculating, all because they sense a force rising within you that they never prepared for. He said, your intuition has become so strong that you no longer need to search for answers. The answers are being drawn to you. The truth is gravitating toward you like metal pulled to a magnet, because you are the one person capable of carrying it without collapsing. He said, every story built on lies eventually collapses, but when the right person awakens, the collapse becomes a revelation, not a destruction. And that is exactly where you stand now. The watching, the whispers, the anxiety in the air, none of it is meant to scare you. It is proof of your power, proof that the truth is on its final approach, and proof that the people who once underestimated you are finally realizing the depth of who you truly are. My child, the truth is almost at your door, and when it arrives, everything hidden will fall apart in front of the one person it was always meant to reach. You, my beloved child. The lawyer said, the most powerful truths don't reveal themselves with noise. They arrive quietly, like a shadow slipping under a locked door. And that's exactly what's happening around you right now. He explained that the energy surrounding your life has become so charged, so intense, so aligned with revelation, that even people who try to distance themselves from the situation can feel the shift. They're becoming uneasy, restless, uncertain, because every step you take is bringing you closer to the truth they hoped you would never approach. The lawyer said it perfectly. They're not scared of what you know. They're scared of what you're about to know. And that fear is spreading like wildfire. It's why certain people suddenly avoid you. It's why some act overly kind. It's why some remain frozen, unsure how to talk to you anymore. Their reactions reveal more than their words ever could. They can sense the moment approaching, the moment when the truth they buried begins to crumble under the weight of your awakening. And the lawyer said that once this truth reaches you, everything they built on silence will collapse instantly. But what makes this stage even more shocking is the person at the center of this whole story, the same person the lawyer mentioned earlier, whose actions created the cracks that are finally starting to show. This person isn't watching you because they want control anymore. They're watching because they're afraid of losing something they can't get back. The lawyer said this individual is living with a truth they've carried for too long, a truth that has become heavier, sharper, and more dangerous now that your intuition is rising. He said, this person knows you've changed. They can feel it. They can sense your distance, your clarity, your strength. And instead of facing everything head on, they're trying to predict how you'll react when the truth finally touches your hands. But what they don't realize is that your reaction won't be the destruction they fear. Your reaction will be liberation, your liberation, not theirs. And that scares them more than anything else, because once you see the full picture, once you understand how deep their choices went, you will never look at them the same way again. The lawyer said, this person knows that the truth will not only free you, it will expose their hidden guilt in ways they can no longer escape. And my beloved child, the lawyer concluded with words that felt like destiny rather than a message. He spoke about a strange build-up in life, the kind that doesn't announce itself loudly, but slowly becomes impossible to ignore. According to him, there are moments when everything around a person starts to feel charged, like events, emotions, and timing are quietly aligning towards something meaningful. He suggested that what people often call truth doesn't arrive randomly, but in its own natural timing, when a person has grown enough to recognize it without confusion or fear. He explained that growth changes perception, and the same situation that once felt overwhelming can later become clear when a person has matured emotionally and mentally. In his view, every stage of life shapes the next one, even the difficult phases that once felt unfair or unclear. He described this present moment as one of awareness, where understanding begins to replace doubt and inner clarity starts to strengthen. The idea he shared was that life often prepares individuals through experiences they don't fully understand at the time, but those experiences eventually contribute to a broader sense of direction. He emphasized that when clarity finally comes, it feels less like a shock and more like a quiet recognition, as if things were always leading there. In that sense, what unfolds next is not about sudden disruption, but about realization, where confusion fades and perspective becomes stronger, allowing a person to see their journey in a more complete and grounded way.